All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started today. And I'm so glad again to have you back for this last session of this 8-part series. So, today we're going to talk about goals for growth. And that's really our topic today. And I would really encourage you to spend some time this week, maybe if you are traveling for Thanksgiving while you're driving, having these conversations of what should our goals be? I always like to revisit my goals at the beginning of the year or towards the end of the year for the next year, but any time is a good time to talk about your goals. And so that's really what we want to go into today. And as always, we're using the tools from the Initiate toolkit that's on the native360.org website. So I would really encourage you to go to native360.org, click on Small Business Tools, click on the Initiate platform, and a lot of the things that we'll be going over today, there are tools and things already created for you right on that website. So make sure that you use that free tool that's provided from Native 360. All right. So are there any questions before we get started? If not, we'll kind of jump right in and we'll leave some time for questions here at the end. So just a second here as I get my screen ready. Perfect. All right. So whenever we talk about goal setting, it's something that oftentimes gets some hems and haws, and it's something that either it seems like people kind of are goal setters or they're not. But I really feel like if you put this on with a new pair of lenses, if you think about that setting goals can have a huge financial benefit to your business, it may encourage you to do it more. So, like I said, I would say some people are natural setters. For some others, it might not be quite as natural. But let's think of this as the growth of your business. And there's a lot of things we're willing to do for the growth of our business, even if it's slightly outside of our comfort zone. So, if initially you say, oh, I'm just not a goal person. I don't like writing lists. I don't like writing things down. Think about it this way. If spending an hour writing down goals and working through these SMART goals could make you an extra $5,000 this next year, would you spend the hour for $5,000? I'm a very practical person, and sometimes I have to think of it that way. If I can increase sales by $5,000 by spending this hour, if someone said, if you sit down and do this, I will pay you $5,000. Now, obviously, it's not guaranteed, but the things we'll go through today show that you are much more likely to succeed if you spend this time. So think of it that way. If goal setting doesn't come natural to you, put a price on it. Say, if I can increase sales by 5%, that equals this much money. If someone were to pay me this much money, would I sit down and do this? And usually the answer is yes. So if that helps you, whatever it takes, let's get these goals written down and spend some time on them. All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about, we have 8 points to go through today, and then we'll have some time for questions. So the first thing we're going to talk about is managing your time. This is one part of goal setting that oftentimes gets overlooked. Oftentimes when we think of goals, we think of financial goals or we think of to-do lists, but managing your time should be a goal that you put at the top of your list. So it is easy for business owners to fall into the trap of working into their business instead of working on their business. Making the time to work on your business is critical. It will allow you to build sustainable business and take time away from your day to day, which helps prevent burnout. Now, because you're on these calls and because you've been on these calls for the last 8 weeks, I'm kind of preaching to the choir here because you know that making time to work on your business is important. And I say that every single week. So, what are some benefits of successful time management? I'm in this orange box here. Increased business, which creates more income, increased focus and organization, less stress, and more time for family, friends, and interests. I'd really encourage you today, as you go into Thanksgiving tomorrow and this week, and you're spending time with family, really think about what goals could I set for my business that allows more time to spend with these people that I love, maybe creates less stress. What are some goals that I could put in place to make a better work-life balance? Now, as entrepreneurs, we know that work-life balance is kind of an illusion. There's never a perfect work-life balance. But if you think of what goals can I put in place to make that a little bit more balanced, or what I would like to see. One example, just to kind of get your wheels spinning, is at Tally, we fight really hard for work-life balance, just not just for my husband and I as owners, but for our employees as well. And we work with businesses every day. We're a business to business type of company. And we have found that the week between Christmas and New Year's is not a very productive week when we're trying to get a hold of people, when we're trying to finalize contracts, just because between travel schedules and vacation time, it's a tough time to reach people. So we have set a goal that if we can reach these bench points throughout the month of December, we will close our office from Christmas to New Year's and give not only Dana and I, but our whole staff a week to refresh before the new year. So that's one goal. When we talk about making time for our business, we've spent the time to make sure that we make time, which then allows us to spend more time with family, to refresh, to recharge. All right, let's go back into that. So managing your time, that should be one area of goals that we're setting. So one way that we can manage our time more effectively, if we look down here at number 2, is by creating a time management plan. In business, your plan will help you prioritize work and keep you focused on completing the most important tasks every day. A good time management plan must be in writing and contain a list of priority tasks on the daily, weekly, and monthly basis for achieving your goals. So, 3 steps for creating your plan here in this red box. Step 1 is to clearly define your goals. And as you can see, that's our number 3. So if you haven't done that yet, don't worry. That's what we're talking about today. Number 2 is to break down each goal. Oftentimes goals aren't just a one thing. So we need to break them down. And then number 3 is we're going to prioritize our tasks. It's often easy to think of what we like to do or what we want to do over what needs to be prioritized. So we're going to talk about that today. So as a time management plan, thinking about our time is really our most valuable asset. It's the only thing that we can't get more of. And so if you can create a plan to manage your time, that's not only going to make you more productive, but it's also going to make your business more profitable. Let's dive in here to number 3. So one thing we always talk about at Tally is SMART goals. And we did not invent SMART goals. If you want to Google SMART goals, literally SMART goals, there are so many articles, there's videos, there's different interpretations of it. There's even a little different interpretation of what these letters stand for. But really, SMART goals has been a proven way to make goal setting something that's attainable and efficient. So let's talk about this. Let's clearly define your goals, utilizing SMART goal formatting and identifying each as a short term, which could be quarterly, midterm, 12-month, or long term, 2 to 5 year goal. So when we talk about SMART goals, and we're going to talk about that a lot today, a SMART goal is really just a goal that's specific. The S is for specific. We want to be clear, detailed, intentional about what our goals are, what will be accomplished, and what actions you'll take. So if you say, I want to grow my business, well, that's a good goal. That would not be considered a SMART goal because it's not specific. Now, if you say, I want to grow my business by 10% in the next 12 months, that's a very specific goal. And you could even break it down more specific and say, every quarter, I want to increase by at least 2 to 3%. The next thing would be M, and we could say M would be for measurable. Identify in advance which metrics you will use to determine success. What data will measure the goal, how much, and how well. So some things are more measurable than others. So if we're talking about a balance sheet, if we want to increase sales by 10%, that is something that is measurable as long as we're keeping up in accounting. As long as we have a QuickBooks in place or some kind of accounting, we can keep track of that. Now, there are other goals that aren't as measurable. So if we say we want everyone we work with to refer at least one friend or family member to us, Now, that is a good goal. And it is specific because we said we want every customer to refer one person. So rather than just saying we want more referrals, that would not be specific. But by saying we want every customer to refer one friend or family member, well, that is specific, and I would definitely put some action plans to that, maybe a referral card or maybe a referral bonus or something like that. It's not quite as measurable because we're not going to literally make a list of every customer. We're not going to write down who referred them. That so something like that, while it is a goal, isn't as measurable. And it's okay to have those kind of goals too. But maybe one way to measure referrals would be as people walk in, you ask them, how did you hear of us? And if they say, oh, it was a referral from a friend, maybe you mark that down somewhere. So that would be one way to try to measure that a little bit more. But just know that if it is something that can be measured, if it's in dollars, if it's in payroll, if it's in maybe you want to decrease the cost of your inventory by 5%. That's something that is measurable, and that is one way that makes a goal a SMART goal. If you say we want to decrease our cost of goods, that's not necessarily a SMART goal. But if we say we want to decrease our cost of goods by $5,000 this next year, that would be a SMART goal. So making sure that if it's measurable, what are you going to use to measure that? Being very specific about what reports, what item line in QuickBooks, how we're going to measure that. The A in SMART goals stands for achievable. Make sure that you have the resources to accomplish your goal. Is the goal doable? Do you have the necessary skills and resources? Now, I am a big picture dreamer. I'm one that sets my goals really high, but it's also you need to make sure that it's achievable. And sometimes sometimes that achievability is not based on your own drive or your own hard work. Sometimes it's based on just what it is. Right now, cost of goods are going up and pretty much around across the board. So we can do small things to lower that price. Maybe we look at a different vendor. Maybe we buy in bulk. Maybe we don't over purchase. Maybe we're really careful about using everything so nothing goes to waste. Those would be all ways that we could lower our costs of goods. But we can't just say we're going to cut our cost of goods down by 90%. Because as much as we would all love that, it may not be achievable unless you've been really wasting that much. So make sure that it's something that is achievable. Maybe it's a stretch, but it's not something that's just, if you currently see 200 customers in your store in a month, 300 customers may be a very achievable goal. Now that's a lot. But if you say I want to go from 200 to 2,000, that may not be achievable, at least not in the short term. So be realistic. I would encourage you, your goal should stretch you a little bit. They should say, oh, I don't know, but they should be realistic. And we'll talk about why here in a little bit. So our R is relevant. Your goal should be applicable to your business. How does this align with your broader goals? Why is the result important? So make sure that the goals that you're choosing affect your day-to-day, what you're doing now. And it's okay to have long-term goals, but you should really think about, okay, if I achieve this goal, how is that result? Why is that result so important? Again, is that result important because it saves you time, because it saves you money, because it makes your employees happy, because it takes over some market share from your competitors? Why is that important? So make sure you thought through that step. Because let's say for Tally, let's say we are a marketing agency. Let's say I say, I want a goal to have candy in our office every day. Okay, well, that might boost our morale of our employees. That's not really relevant because that doesn't impact our day to day. So again, sometimes we just have wish lists, and that's okay. It's okay to have wish lists or, hey, wouldn't it be cool if, but make sure that your SMART goals, that you're really putting your effort towards something that's relevant to your business and that is going to grow your business in one way or another. And if you just want to have candy, then just have candy, because who's going to complain about having candy in your office? And our T in SMART stands for timely. One additional aspect of specifying your goals is to place a deadline on them. What is a time frame for accomplishing this goal? And that's very important. We always say that setting a time and a plan is what changes a wish to a goal. And so if you do want to increase sales by 10%, make sure that you say you want to do that within a quarter, within a year, by this time next year, by the time we get into our new building, whatever it is. A timeline does not necessarily have to be in days or months. It could say, by the time we move into our new building, we want this to happen. Or maybe by the time we purchase that next piece of equipment, we want to make sure that our costs are down by 10%. So sometimes when we say timely, you may not be able to put a month or a day on it, and that's okay, but it might be an accomplishment, and that's when your timely goal is. So don't take timely as literal as a calendar, but it should have some kind of defined timeline. I know when I was pregnant, my kiddos are now teenagers now, but when I was pregnant, you have a long list of things to do by the time the baby gets here. Now, while we have a due date, that's not a specific day, but we know about when it's going to be. And that list, as that due date gets closer, any parents in the room know that as that due date gets closer, you feel that pressure more and more and more because that baby's coming, right? And so maybe it's we want to do this by the time we get into our new building. So as that move gets closer and closer, and all of a sudden you're scheduling moving trucks, and all of a sudden you're packing boxes, you feel that pressure building to accomplish that goal. And that can be sometimes even a more pressing timeline than a date on the calendar. So whichever way it works for you. All right. So when we talk about SMART goals, we really just talk about is it specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. And if it's not one of these things, we really want to look at them as boxes to check. So how can we make this a SMART goal? Now, again, not everything's going to be measurable. Some things might not be on quite the time deadline, but we want to definitely think through all 5 of these areas. And these are the discussions we want to have. Now, let's say someone from your staff brings you a goal and they say, I think we need more sales. Okay. And I think almost any business owner could agree with that. And they say, we need more sales. Okay. One thing you can challenge them with was rather that kind of sounds like a wish at this point. We wish we had more sales. So to make that a reality, we really need to turn that into a SMART goal. And so this is something where you could hand them this worksheet and say, I agree, we do need more sales. That's a great goal to have, but it's not achievable until we make it a SMART goal. So can you take that wish, that goal of we need more sales, and I want you to show me of these 5 things, the SMART, how we're going to get there. And once you come back with that SMART goal, I promise you will have my full attention and we will work towards that. But otherwise, if you don't put them into SMART goals, it's easy to have kind of employees or maybe partners in your business saying, we should have this, we should do this, we should do that, we should do that. And while those may be relevant points, if they're not willing to put the time in to make it a SMART goal, it's less likely to be achieved, and maybe it's not that important to them. So really challenge them. And making it a SMART goal might take 10 minutes. But if they're not willing to put the time in, then it's probably not important to them, as important to them as maybe they make it seem. Does that make sense? So if you can make something a SMART goal that really proves that it is important to you. If you say we want to have more sales, okay, what does more sales look like? Maybe we want to increase sales by $10,000. That $10,000, we're going to make it measurable because we're going to watch our QuickBooks. That is achievable because that would be about a 10% increase. It's relevant because the more sales we can have, we're going to keep our all of our employees busy right now. Maybe they have some time that they're wasting. And we want to do this within the next 3 months. So that just by saying those 5 things, I mean, I rattled those off the top of my head here in 2 minutes, that would make a goal of we want more sales into a SMART goal. And if someone on my team brought me a SMART goal with a SMART, I'm much more likely to take it seriously and to put my effort and energy behind it because obviously they have thought through that. Now, as a business owner, I may make some adjustments. Maybe what they thought is achievable, maybe not, because they don't know all the circumstances. So maybe I would lower that a little bit. Maybe they're not thinking big enough, and I would increase that a little bit. Maybe that timeline's off because they don't realize that our end of year taxes or whatever it is. And so as a business owner, you're going to want to take ownership of that and really look at it, not just accept whatever they present, but by having them present that first draft, that not only lets them buy in, but it also takes some of that pressure off you. One of the things that we say in our office is if you have a problem, if you're going to complain about something, I need at least an option to come with that. Now, their option might not be what we do, but if you're going to complain that we're always out of paper towels in the bathroom, okay, if you're going to complain, give me an option. Maybe research a different kind of dispenser. Maybe talk about how we should go to towels and this is the day that we'll do laundry. Whatever that is. It may not be the option we go with, but if you're going to come to me with a complaint, I would really enjoy an option as well. And that's really what SMART goals helps us do. It helps us go think through those steps a little bit more. Do we have any questions on those SMART goals before we move on? Is this anything that you guys are already incorporating in your business, or is this something that's pretty new, a new concept? All right. And again, kind of like it says here at the top, we can use these SMART goals when we're doing short-term goals, even a weekly goal. One kind of silly example of a SMART goal that I will do for myself is, let's say that I need to return an email. And let's say that before I return this email, it's going to take some research. I'm going to have to draft it. I might have to look up a couple numbers. So it's going to take me maybe 15 minutes to put together this email. Not a long time, but long enough that I'm going to have to put some dedicated effort into it. So let's say I get this email at 4:30 on a Tuesday. I might jot down on a post-it, return Joe's email by 9 a.m. It needs to be out of my outbox. I think that's an achievable goal. It's relevant because I know he's waiting on this answer, and it's timely because I said 9 a.m. So that writing that on a post-it note is a SMART goal, because if I just said, oh yeah, I need to get back to him, that's not a SMART goal. But by making it specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely, that timely is probably the most important step. You're more likely to achieve it, because the times that I don't put that timeline on, it's easy to get, and we're going to talk about priority here in a minute, it's easy to get pushed to the bottom of the list. And then all of a sudden it's the end of the day the next day and I never got that off. And then that's when you get those emails of, hey, I'm still waiting to hear from you. So even something as simple. So when we talk about long-term goals, short-term goals, even a very short-term goal, a 12-hour goal of returning an email can be a SMART goal. And that's a good way to practice. Thanksgiving, obviously, making that schedule, figuring out how you want Thanksgiving to go. You could turn that into a SMART goal, and that can help you practice, rather than just saying, I need to do this, but actually practicing by making it into a SMART goal. And the more you practice this, the more it's going to become second nature. I'd really encourage you to, print this off and keep it somewhere, or eventually try to memorize what this SMART stands for. Remembering that it's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. And that should help you as you go. All right. So now let's say that we have our goal set. Maybe we just started with one goal. And we have our goal set. Let's go back to that example. We want to increase our sales by 10% over the next year. So again, that's specific, it's timely, it's relevant, it's measurable. We have our SMART goal. But this is when we really have to put the work in. So when we think about how are we going to do this? So our number 4 today is to break down each goal into clearly defined tasks. By determining what needs to be done to achieve each goal, not only will it create a plan of action, but it'll also allow you to see what resources are needed and how to allocate them. So, our task tip is to determine how your goals align with your business plan. Review them monthly, quarterly to ensure that they still align. So, this is just once you set that goal, especially if it's a long term goal, make sure that it aligns with your plan, your overall plan, and make sure that if your business plan changes, the goal that you're working towards still aligns. So, when we talk about a task breakdown, we're going to identify the following to create specific tasks to complete our goal. So, we really need to then go through who's going to do this, what's going to be done, when are they going to do it, how, and why. So, let's go back to that example about increasing sales. So if we have decided that increasing sales by 10% within a year, if that is our SMART goal, we can't just write that down and just assume that it's going to happen. So that's when we really have to break down who is in charge of this. Is it strictly our sales department? Maybe we need a tool to achieve that. Maybe our sales department can't go out and make the sales if they don't have new flyers that show the new service line. Maybe our prices are outdated on our message board. So maybe we need to update that. Maybe it's updating a website. So even before, who's going to make the sales? And again, to say, well, the salespeople are going to make the sales. That's kind of the easy answer. But first thinking, do the sales team have the tools they need to make the sales? And if not, part of that who might be a graphic designer. It might be your printing company. It might be a website a web designer to update the website. So that who might be a little bit broader than what you're thinking. Then when we go through these other questions, what are they going to do? Is it a certain one product line that we want to increase? Is it equally along the product lines? Is there a sale that we're going to offer that might be part of that? How are we going to increase sales? Maybe we'll offer some kind of coupon code or some kind of discount. When are we going to do that? Is that just going to be every day of the year, or are we going to work towards maybe, again, 4 campaigns where there's some discounted and people could sign up? And again, that why are we going to do this? And that really has to be communicated all the way from the top to the bottom. So that whether it is your graphic designer, your web designer, your salesperson, they all need to understand, why are we increasing sales? And just to make more money, that is not a good answer. Obviously, in business, we have to make money to be in business, but the why should be bigger. So in this scenario that we kind of keep going back to, let's say that we have a floor of people working that are standing around a lot of the time. So if we can increase our sales, we're going to keep them busy, which ultimately helps them, raises maybe their commissions, whatever it is. So the why should be bigger than just making more money. That's a given. It should talk about the why should really impact more at the root of how is this going to affect our people? How is this going to affect our day? How is this going to affect our workload? So make sure that the why is more than just the money aspect. All right, so again, we're going to break down each goal into who, what, where, when, why. So let's say that our goal is to increase sales by 10% over the next year. Our wins might be broken up into quarters. They might be broken up into months. They might be broken up into tasks, whatever that looks like. But it might be easy to say, well, the win's already defined. It's 1 year. But when we really break down those tasks, we might say we need new brochures. So we're going to allocate 1 month to make our new marketing material. Then once those graphics are made, we need to put those on our website. So that's going to take 2 weeks. Then after that, we need our sales team to go out. So so it might be more of just that 1 year goal to increase sales is our goal. But when we break down the tasks, That's when we can really see those individual action items. And that's the most important of this piece, is that if we don't put these SMART goals into action, they're never going to happen. So by really breaking down these tasks, that's how we're going to put it into action, and we're going to assign it. And so it's bigger than just one person. Sometimes we forget about other resources that are a part of that action plan. So Native 360, they may be a part of your action plan. Talking to Pete, that might be part of your action plan. Maybe it's your FedEx driver. That might be a part of your action plan, because we need that person to deliver the products before we can sell them. So think of other people that may be a part of that who, what, where, when, why, that maybe aren't part of your staff, but an extension of your team. So think of that as far as when you're thinking of the who. Think of people, other resources that you have. When we talked about that business plan a few weeks ago, we talked about those key people that are teammates that maybe aren't employed by us but are on our same team. And think about how those people are going to affect your goals and how they can help you reach your goals. And the more you can share those goals with those people, the more likely they are to get behind you and to help you achieve your goal. If someone came to me and said, hey, I know this flyer is not supposed to be done for 2 weeks, but we really have this goal to hit this specific sale over the weekend. If someone came to me and said, we have this goal that we're trying so hard to achieve, we have everything else in place, this flyer is this last piece, I promise you, I would do whatever I could to make sure that I gave them the tool that they needed to reach their goal. And I don't think we hear that enough. So if someone came to you and said, I have a goal, your ears are going to perk up and you're more likely to help them achieve that, because everyone wants to get behind a goal. So keep that in mind. All right. Do we have any questions before we move on? We've talked about managing your time, creating a time management plan. We've talked about clearly defining your goals through using the SMART, S-M-A-R-T. And then we just talked about breaking down your goals into defined tasks. All right. We'll have some time at the end too for questions. So let's go ahead and move on to our next step, our step 5. So step 5 is prioritizing your tasks. So assigning a priority level, low, medium, high, to every task is under our next step. Once you know the levels, rearrange your tasks in order of priority and allocate ample time to the most critical task. So always try to complete the most important task first. They usually have the greatest impact on our goals and in return on our bottom line. So it is very easy to go towards the easiest thing first. But really, we need to think of this as business owners and as professionals. And instead of doing the easiest or the most fun thing first, really prioritizing what needs to be done first and doing that. There's a saying that we say here in our office. It's actually a book. It's called Eat the Frog. And sometimes your frog might be your hardest thing to do. So there's an expression that says, just eat the frog. That's kind of a gross expression, but if you can get that done first, everything else gets easier. And so I can really encourage you that those high priority items, even if they're hard, if they're a high priority, you need to get those done first, because they're going to ultimately affect your bottom line. Again, sometimes it might be easier to put a price associated with them. Just like we said, if sitting down and setting goals could make you $5,000 this next year, you would spend an hour doing it. So it might help you to get those high priority but hard things done by putting a price to them, to say, okay, if I achieve this goal and this high priority item, let's say to achieve this goal, I'm going to get $10,000 in my business over the next year. And this high priority item, this is a third of the work, and it's going to take me 2 hours, and I don't want to do it. But if you can kind of put your brain of that's worth $3,000, what would I do for $3,000? That might help you keep that priority in place. So again, making sure that you're doing things in the right order, especially when one thing falls on another thing, that falls on another thing. So again, if our sales staff need updated brochures, these brochures that might not be your thing that you like doing, But if your sales staff is waiting on it, then it is a high priority because that is holding up the next thing, which is holding up the next thing, which ultimately is going to keep you from your goal. All right. These next things we're going to talk about, these are direct tools on the Initiate toolkit that's on the native360.org website. So we don't have to create these from scratch. These tools are already provided for you from no charge from Pete and Native 360. So I'd really encourage you to log onto your account and get these started. So Initiate Time Management Plan Template has business goals built right into them. So there's a business goals section. So you should include these items on your time management plan. There's a spot in there that you can put in your company mission, your company SMART goals. So right on the side here, it talks about your SMART goals. So again, I told you I did not make this up. This is a well adopted all across the business industry. Then your company SMART goals, your goal name, your description, your length of time, and your targeted completion date. So right there, you can list out goal 1, goal 2, goal 3. You can say what your goal name is, the description of it. Is this a short term, a midterm, a long term? And you can define what that means. You can decide in your business what a short term goal is versus a midterm versus a long term. There's no one way to do that. Maybe your long term is a year, maybe your long term is 15 years, whatever that means to your business. Your targeted completion date. And then this is the part that I like. Is it a SMART goal? Which really means, have you taken the time to go through the SMART and define each thing? And maybe you've defined it in your head, but I will tell you that goals are 3 times more attainable if they're written on a piece of paper, even if it's, we say, a back of an envelope or a Post-it note. So I'd really encourage you to take out your notebook and write down them on a piece of paper. And then once you've written them down, you can say, yes, it is a SMART goal. Maybe it's almost a SMART goal, but there's one piece that's left out, and that can be your homework to ask the person or figure out who you need or what information you need to fill out that last part to make it a SMART goal. Another tool that is so helpful that's on the Initiate platform is the time management task. So this is a task selection. And so you should include these items on your time management plan. So right on there, you can create this management plan that has your SMART goal name, specific task for the goal, priority ranking, status of the task, start and due dates, a time period, percentage of completion, and your notes. So right in this tool, you can fill it out and you can say, okay, I'm 100% complete. Let me zoom in on this a little bit. So right here, we can see our task. So maybe our website launch. Get quotes from 3 website designers. This is a medium. It's completed. We had a start date of the 15th and it only took us 5, and it was due in 5 days. Now that takes some work to get quotes. So what if you just said, sometime I want to get quotes? That is not a SMART goal. But if you said, I want to receive 3 quotes and I want to do it by the 20th of September, and it is relevant because I need to start my website. I already have a time to it, and I think that's achievable. Now, it is achievable. I might have to rearrange some things in my schedule. I might not be able to catch up on my favorite Netflix show this week, but it is an achievable goal. And then we can see right here, we mark that it's 100% complete. And is it done? So you can check it when it's done, and at the bottom this will add up, and then you can add any notes. So if you want to see like what you found or what the quotes were, you can put that right in this box. So this can help you keep on task, not only with you, but especially if you're working with a business partner. Maybe you set up a monthly goal meeting, and so you could keep all your notes in here, and then when you meet, you could go over them together. Okay, our step 8, our last step, implementing your time management plan. So as a small business owner, you are juggling a lot of responsibilities, and we all understand that, and we're all here to support you knowing that. So by creating and implementing a time management plan, you can become more organized, less stressed, and improve the overall health and performance of your business. So properly manage your time. Be sure to allocate ample time to complete both the tasks within your plan as well as your ongoing business tasks. Now, we understand when I'm asking you to add this SMART goal setting to your to-do list, I understand that you can't just stop all business operations to get this done. This is adding one more thing to your plate initially, but hopefully it'll save you time and increase your revenue in the long run. Back here in the orange, when looking at your work week, allocate 75% of your available work hours to tasks listed on your weekly time management plan, with the remaining 25% for unexpected issues or breaks. Now, this is something that is so important when you look, if you're someone that really likes to schedule out your day, we would love to be able to schedule out 100% of our time for scheduled work activities. In our office, we call them billable hours. But realistically, things come up. Phone calls come in, people stop in, you have to use the bathroom, you go out to lunch, things like that come up. And so it's not realistic to say 100% of my time from 8 to 5 is going to be productive, because that just doesn't happen. But a very productive day is that 75, maybe even 80%. And small things you can do to make that time more effective by bringing your lunch. Usually you can do a working lunch, or maybe you can take a 20-minute break or a 30-minute break to eat lunch. That's going to be more productive or more time effective than going out to lunch and spending an hour and a half. Little things like that. Thinking of those things that you can do. Sometimes it's something as simple as every time you send something to the copier, if you don't need it, just letting it sit there, and then maybe once or twice a day, go pick those things up versus every time going. Think of those little things that you can cut time out of your day that could make your day a little bit more effective. But also make sure that you allow time for breaks. Make sure you allow time for yourself to maybe walk around the block or have a conversation with a friend that stops in. So let's go through our management tip. On days that go according to a plan, which doesn't always happen, use the extra 25% of your time for such things as additional networking, business development, addressing lower priority tasks, organizing your work area, or conducting research. In our office, we always say that 25% of the time can be spent watching YouTube videos on something that you're trying to learn. So for example, our videographer, Austin, he's an incredible videographer. But sometimes he's just between projects. Oftentimes it's when he's waiting for edits to come back. And so we always tell him a good use of your time would be to watch a YouTube video about how to add in a new effect, or maybe the newest feature that just came out in the new version of our software. That is a good use of time because you're researching your industry. So think of things that way that are still a good use of your time. But if you walked by someone that were watching YouTube at work, you might automatically think, that's wasting time. But as long as you can do it properly, it's a good use of time. Okay, avoid distractions. It may sound easier said than done, but there are always ways to minimize interruptions. If you find yourself frequently pulled in different directions, you may want to start by tracking interruptions to determine how to best manage them. When you are working, disconnect from technology to reduce distractions, and let people know you are not able to be disturbed during specific time periods. So again, if you really have to accomplish a task, if it's high on that priority list and that deadline's coming, you may need to, put your phone away and just let some calls go to voicemail just so you can get that task done. And that's okay. Consider blocking time throughout your day for routine tasks, such as making or returning phone calls, checking and replying to emails, and only address these tasks during those times. Now, I know some people who have written books and shared messages, they really do that, where they return calls from a certain time of day or emails a certain time of the day. I've never quite gotten to that level, but if that is something that is more effective for you, if you define that you get distracted returning emails, maybe that is a good way to do it. To say I do emails from 9 to 10 a.m. and from 1 to 2 p.m. So for some people, that is a very effective strategy. We're almost done here. Take breaks. Even though work needs to get done, there is value in stepping away once in a while. A physical and mental break will increase your overall productivity and help you feel less overwhelmed. So if you feel as though you must keep working, look at the time management plan and spend 15 to 30 minutes working on lesser ranked, less mentally intense tasks. This will give your brain a break while still allowing you to be productive. This might be cleaning your desk. This might be sweeping your floor. Things like that. Tasks that need to get done, but don't take as much mental energy. So after you sweep your floor, you'll feel a sense of accomplishment, and you also kind of gave your brain that much needed break. So just listed on the bottom here, these are 4 links to some of the resources that we use right directly off the Initiate toolkit provided by Native 360. And so this is right, if you, this PDF that we send out, you can click directly on the links as long as you have Wi-Fi, and it'll take you directly to that tool. And so I'd really encourage you to use these tools and use the Initiate, all the tools that they have, as there are so many on there that can not only save you time, but the work's already been done for you. So don't try to recreate that wheel. We have 10 minutes here. I'd love to hear any feedback. If there's anything that you have done in your own workplace or even in your life to set goals, to accomplish goals, or to manage your time or your goals, your task list more effectively. Pete's on here today. I don't know if there's any tips or tools you have, Pete, of how you organize. I know you're a busy guy with a lot of meetings and traveling and different things. Are there anything that you have done over the years to manage your time, your to-do list, your tasks, or your goals?
One thing I was thinking of is preparing your day the night before.
Yes.
And I don't know how many times you've gotten up and even preparing what you're going to wear for the next day and just being organized and making sure that everything's set. I don't know how many times I get out of the door late just due to the fact that I wanted this and I needed that and I don't know where it's at.
Yeah.
So I always try to take, 20, 30 minutes at the end of the day just to prepare for the next day, just to make sure what my meetings are, what my deadlines are, and just have things laid out for me so I'm out the door. And especially, little things that really throw you off is, let's say if you have a 4-hour trip to make tomorrow, making sure you're gassed up the night before, because I don't know how many times I've gotten in my vehicle and you're on near empty and you're running late. So my days go better when I prepare the night before, and I have my day laid out for me or my week laid out for me.
That is a great, yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I always joke when I am traveling, getting ready in the morning is so easy because I already have my clothes picked out because I
Mm-hmm.
had to pack them. I already have all my toiletries ready to go. I have the right belt and the right shoes and the right earrings. And I always joke how it's easier to get ready in a hotel room, but really the difference is you've just already spent the time doing that. So yeah, if you think
Mm-hmm.
of the night before, or maybe on Sunday night, you lay out your outfits for the whole week. It does just save. And if it can save you 20 minutes every morning, that sure adds up that you could be productive doing other things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And one of my weaknesses is on Sundays when Sunday night football rolls around and the games don't get over until about 10:30. And I'm normally about a 9 o'clock bedtime guy and 5 o'clock getting up. So that really kind of, I have to monitor my sleep. And sleep is really important. And I think how we take care of ourselves, mentally and physically. And Ken and Janet are always on me about taking care of myself. And it's so true, because if you don't have the proper sleep, you're just worn out, you're tired, and your mind's not functioning properly.
Absolutely. Are there anyone else that has any tips or tools that they do? I know when that to-do list can get long and it can get overwhelming. I've heard different strategies where people, when we talk about prioritizing, I've read different strategies where people will put, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. I mean, you can even get down to where, let's say your high priorities are A's, your middles are B's, and then your low priorities are C's. But then you even go through that and you have an A1, an A2, an A3. So once your to-do list gets really long, there are a lot of different strategies on how to make sure that you're doing things in the right order and that to keep you on task. So does
Mhm.
anyone use any kind of system with their to-do list so that it's not just from top to bottom or easiest to hardest, but it's actually done in the order that it should be done to be most productive? No.
I usually just use a list. If I've got it written down, it's going to get done. And sometimes I scratch on that list and reorganize it or number it, but most of the time it's just that if I write it down, it's in my mind and then I do it.
Peter, are you using your CPAP like you're supposed to?
You know, the funny thing of it is I got me a new mask, and I like it.
Good.
Good.
So,
Keep
Good.
it up.
yeah, I got me a new machine too.
Good.
Good.
I did too.
Yeah.
Makes you feel a lot rested in the
Oh
morning.
yeah. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Pete, at the beginning of today, I really encourage, since this is our last class of this 8-week series, I really encourage everyone to, start thinking about what tools they could use in the future, what topics, even thinking about length of time of day, things like that, so that if we did do another thing in the future, whether it's in person or virtually or whatever, getting some feedback. And so again, I encourage them to reach out to you or to put a chat in there and kind of see. I think that this series has at least, I hope it's been very helpful. I think the topics that we've covered have been a pretty advanced topics. These are ones that oftentimes we cover in 3-hour workshop or a half a day, and we really condensed into an hour. So I know that this has been a lot of information, but I think it's been good information. And I really encourage you to take these notes, to revisit them, to reach out to Pete if you have questions or you'd like more clarification on any of these, as he has so many resources that can help you with. So Pete, as we kind of wrap up today and this series, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think the only thing is, even like with me, I'm starting to prepare for our year end, and just making sure that we have all of our ducks in a row for year end stuff. Any forms that need signed from, vendors or things of that sort, or invoices, because I think the new year is going to be here before long. And if we're not, don't have our tax records in place now, I hate myself. I just don't like going back and gathering stuff that I should have had. So what we do at year end is we go through all of our loan documents and just making sure that we have everything up to date and just kind of double checking ourselves. So it's the only thing that I would really recommend. And, just preparing for the first quarter. And that's another thing that we're doing right now, is just trying to prepare for the first quarter. And we'd like to get more proactive on it, but like a small business, there's so many things that like Janet and Ken have to think about on with the winter coming. What are you going to do if this happens? And just having a plan, an emergency plan for those blizzard days or those snow days. And I think one thing that we've learned through this pandemic is taking care of yourself and your employees. So I often, the older I get, those meetings that you have to attend when it's an icy, snowy day aren't really that important. And I just cancel them. And, they're important, but your life is more important. So just take care of yourself and your staff. And I always go by the philosophy, I'd never put somebody in a dangerous position that I wouldn't want to be in. And I don't really want to be out there on icy roads. So Ken and Janet, I appreciate your business, and Sarah and Richard will just take care.
Absolutely. Well, everyone have a great Thanksgiving, and we will touch base soon after. Hope to see you soon, and just keep in touch. And again, I would just encourage you, my final farewell would be to continue to invest time in your business. If this Wednesday at 9 a.m., if this time works good for you, still continue to block it off in your calendar. And maybe on Wednesdays from 9 to 10 a.m., you spend time working on your business plan, working on your social media, setting these SMART goals, working through your task list. Maybe save this time as time that you're working on your business, Or if this isn't the good time, carve out some time during the week, because as much as our business needs us to be day in, day in the business, it also needs us to be thinking long term and to be thinking big picture and to be investing in ourselves and our education. And so make sure you take the time no matter what it is, but make it a priority in your business. You'll see the growth long term.
Thank you, Julie and Pete, for everything you've done, and have a great Thanksgiving.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Happy
Bye.
Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.